So we have started with chapter 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So we begin with question of Arjuna. Arjuna has asked the question that what is the difference between purpose of, what is, I wish to understand purpose of renunciation and of renounced order of life. What is the renounced order of life and what is renunciation? So then Bhagwan, Krishna is saying that the giving up the activities that are based on material desire is what the great learned man called renounced order of life. And giving up the result of all activities is what the wise call renunciation. Okay. So in one case, we are not giving up the nitya karma duty, but we are giving up the kamya karma, which is born of material desire. Whereas in the tyaga, we give up the result of whatever it may be, kamya karma or nitya karma. We give up the result. Give up the result means we offer it to Krishna. So then Krishna was telling that, some is giving the opinion of some people. Someone say that, activities should be given up as a faulty, which some activities like yajna may incur sin by killing the animal and all, because you have to sacrifice animal and all. Other Siji says that sacrifice, charity and penance should never be abandoned. So that was the opinion of some people. But in the next verse, Krishna says, I am giving the final judgment. Okay. Now here, my judgment about renunciation. Then he said, Krishna said, act of sacrifice, charity. Sorry. So Krishna said he's giving his judgment and saying based on Shastra. So he says, act of sacrifice, charity and penance are not to be given up. Why? Because they must be, even they purify great souls. So he said, it should not be given up. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. Basically, you should do this activity, but offer the result to Krishna. Don't perform this activity with the enjoying mentality. Okay, you are not the enjoyer. They should be performed as a matter of duty. So that is the final opinion of Krishna. So then Krishna is describing the renunciation in mode of ignorance, renunciation in the mode of patience, and renunciation in the mode of goodness. Okay. And basically in these three verses he explained what is the renunciation in mode of ignorance, patience, and goodness. So here it is reversed. First ignorance is given, then patience, and then goodness. Otherwise in every place is goodness first, patience first, and then ignorance. Then he's talking about the renunciation in the mode of goodness. What kind of person is? So the intelligent renouncer situated in the mode of goodness neither had of auspicious work nor attached to auspicious work. There's no doubt about work. It doesn't do with raga and dvesa because it's situated in proper understanding. Then he said, it is indeed impossible for embodied being to give up all activities. But he who renounced the fruit of action is called one who has truly renounced. Basically, we have to renounce the fruit of action. Then he said, for one who is not renounced, threefold fruit of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in renounced order of life have no such a result to suffer and enjoy. Because they are actually, even if I want to tell something, even if you do some activity with preparation, okay, I will do this activity, people will criticize me, let them criticize. And when you do that, people will criticize you, but you will not feel that criticism. You will feel enjoyment even in that criticism. Okay, if you are doing good activity, in that sense I'm talking, not to harass anyone. So if you do with that mentality, people will accept. You will not feel that pain. Okay, so that's the point, because you are mentally prepared for that. Okay? So oh mighty and Arjuna. So now, so then, but in the renounce order also, we are not giving up all the activity. And reaction must be there. So reaction must be there. So then, what about that reaction? So Krishna is saying that you are not the only doer. So basically, in subsequent verses, he tell you should also give up the one is you are renouncing the result of the activity, and second is that doership. So till now, Krishna has spoken about renouncing the result of activity, but he has not spoken anything about doership. So many people give up the result, but they say, "Arey maine kiya, lekin maine de diya," like that. So because of that mentality, you still feel, now that credit goes to someone else. You may feel the pain and pleasure. अरे आपने किया लेकिन वो credit किसी और को मिल गया, so then you may feel pain and pleasure. That's possible. So that's why Krishna is explaining you are not the only doer. There are so many factors which accomplish the task: body, performer, the various senses, many different kind of endeavor, ultimately the super soul. So basically, essentially three things. Performer means soul, super soul means super soul, and other things like body, senses, and different endeavors. Material nature. So Jiva is initiator, Krishna is sanctioner, and material nature is facilitator. Okay. So basically, Jiva is doer in the sense that he desire, he desire. That's why he's considered as a doer in that sense. But ultimately, he's just being desiring is not sufficient. That should be sanction. Means you are desiring, but you are not deserved. So it's not going to work. Like you have desire to have Mercedes Benz, but you don't have that sufficient money, then you will not get Mercedes Benz. So desire and deserve both are important. Okay. So Lord Krishna, Super Soul check whether you deserve or not, sanction. Then the material facility will be given. Okay. So whatever right or wrong action men perform by body, mind, or speech is caused by these five factors. That's why Krishna is telling, therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the five factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. They cannot see the things in the right perspective. What are the right perspective? Right knowledge, the knowledge of soul, super soul, then material nature and relationship between all. Okay. So one who is not motivated by false ego means he doesn't have doership mentality. False ego means I am enjoyer, I am the controller. There is no doership mentality. Whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in the world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his action. Okay. So very clear. Then he says to explain that okay, even still you are feeling the that अरे मेरी इच्छा से होता है all है, but says to have a proper to do work you should have proper knowledge. The goal should be very clear. Okay, you should have senses, instrument, and there should be endeavor, or you can say action. Work, yeah. So all these three things should be there. 3 into means 6 total. So now knowledge, Krishna says, Mattas Muttir Jnanam Apohanam cha, from becomes knowledge. Okay. And that knowledge can be different kind. Knowledge about, you have proper knowledge of soul, super soul, and material nature. Someone may not have that proper knowledge. You consider I am the God. So that knowledge is different kind. Someone just talk about sense enjoyment. And now the body is made of material nature. That is also under the mode of material nature. Work which is done through material nature, within the material nature, with the permission of Krishna, that is also within the material nature. So it will also affected by 3 modes. So now considering this thing, Krishna says that according to three different modes of material nature, there are three kind of knowledge, action, performer of action. Now hear them from me. So that's what uh, Krishna has told, and then Krishna is subsequently defined all different categories of knowledge. Basically, knowledge in goodness, patience, ignorance, action in the goodness, patience, ignorance. These definitions are there. Slide is already shared with all of you. You can go through them, go through it. Okay. So basically, jnana in goodness, jnana in patience, jnana in ignorance. Summary: knowledge about the spirit soul beyond this body is sattva guna. Knowledge producing many theories by dint of mundane logic and speculation is the product of rajaguna. So you have not reached a conclusive truth. What is that conclusive truth? That we are not this body, we are soul. And apart from us, there is another super soul, controller of soul and material nature both. That is, conclusion is not reached by the person who is in Rajaguna. So there are another knowledge is just talking about eating, sleeping, meeting, and defending. That is called knowledge in Tamaguna. Then work, karma in goodness, karma in patience, karma in ignorance. You can see the picture and it's very clear. Okay, that's what we discuss. Then karta in goodness, karta in patience, and karta in ignorance. Okay. So then we show modes control all activities and all beings. So buddhi in goodness, buddhi in patience. So Darwin and all, buddhi in ignorance. Okay. Then determination, dhriti in goodness, dhriti in patience, and dhriti in ignorance. So we discuss about that. Then we discuss about sukha in three modes: happiness, sukham in goodness, sukham in patience, sukham in ignorance. It is very clear enough. Okay. So in summary, everyone from in all this planetary system, three planetary system, heavenly planet, earthly planet, and hellish planet. Okay, they are divided in some planets again. Janalok, Tapalok, Mahalok, and all are affected by these modes. Okay, all are influenced by the mode. That's what we concluded yesterday with the verse number 41. There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in higher planetary system, which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. So basically, Lord here summarized the total influence of three modes of material nature all over the universe. पूरे ब्रह्मांड में तीन गुणों का ही प्रभाव है. तो अभी तो फिर उससे बचे कैसे, ये प्रश्न हो सकता है. Right? How can we free? So from here we are going to start today's session. So if it is clear, can all of you write clear in the chat box so that I can move ahead? Few more can type clear or yes, whatever. Okay, so we move ahead. So now how can we be free from these three modes of material nature? Now that's how we begin with second chapter, third chapter. So basically now Krishna is summarizing all the things: karma yoga, jnana yoga, okay, Brahma realization, Paramatma realization, Bhagwan realization. Krishna is going to summarize. So basically this is the last section, conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. We are going to study from verse number 41 to 66. Okay. So about conclusion about what should be done. So in the next verse, Krishna talks about Brahmana Satriya Visam शूद्राणां च परन्तप कर्माणि प्रविभक्तानि स्वभाव प्रभवेर गुणे। तो बोल रहे हैं ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय वैश्य and शूद्र are distinguished by the qualities born of their own nature in accordance with the material modes or chastisers of the enemy. तो because of this modes लोग अलग अलग प्रकार के गुण प्राप्त करेंगे। किसी के अंदर किसी को पढ़ाने की क्षमता होती है, किसी को गाय के प्रति बहुत लगाव होता है, किसी को खेलना बहुत पसंद होता है। कुछ लोग ज्यादा अपने गोल नहीं बनाते हैं, बस कोई बोलेगा तो उसको करना अच्छा लगता है, दे किसी को उसको गाइड करेगा तो अच्छे से कर देगा। किसी को मैनेजमेंट करना अच्छा लगता है, किसी को स्टडी करना अच्छा लगता है, किसी को एडवेंचर करना अच्छा लगता है। तो अलग अलग प्रकार के लोग होते हैं। ये जो लोग हैं कि किससे आए हैं, born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes। उनका स्वभाव होता है और उसके हिसाब से उनको उनके ऊपर गुण प्रभावित भी करते हैं। गुण प्रभाव की वजह से उनका स्वभाव भी बनता है, जैसी उसकी इच्छा होती है उसके हिसाब से। ठीक है, डिजायर एंड डिजर्व बोथ आर इंपॉर्टेंट। तो नाउ so what are the characteristic of brahmana kshatriya vaishya and shudra are described in next few verses. So Krishna talks here about qualities of brahmana. So samadhamastapa socham santir arjavam evacha ज्ञानम विज्ञानम आस्तिक्यम ब्रह्म कर्म स्वभावजम। तो आप पिछले श्लोक में देखेंगे born of nature, their own nature, by the qualities born of their own nature. So Krishna is not telling that अरे ब्राह्मण का पुत्र है तो ब्राह्मण है, क्षत्रिय का पुत्र है तो क्षत्रिय है। भगवान यहाँ पर ऐसा नहीं बोल रहे जैसे कास्टिज्म बोलते हैं ना। So it's not Krishna has not mentioned that. He says here चातुर्वर्ण मया सृष्ट गुण कर्म विभागस्य तस्य कर्तरम अपि माम विद्या कर्तरम अपि अव्ययम्। According to the three modes of material nature, the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. Krishna has created four divisions of the society. ऐसे भी अभी देखेंगे कि आधुनिक समाज में भी हम देख रहे हैं, कुछ लोग प्रोफेसर की जॉब करते हैं, कुछ लोग वर्कर की जॉब करते हैं। ठीक है, कुछ लोग मैनेजमेंट का भी जॉब करते हैं, बड़े बड़े बिजनेसमैन होते हैं, कुछ मिलिट्री में जाते हैं। तो क्वालिटी तो है अभी भी, सॉरी अलग अलग कैटेगरी। कुछ डॉक्टर लोग होते हैं, क्या अभी हम ऐसा बोलते हैं कि डॉक्टर का पुत्र है तो उसके पिताजी ऑपरेशन करा रहे, सर्जरी कर रहे थे, तो चलो तो उसके पिताजी नहीं रहे तो मैं उसके पुत्र के पास जाके सर्जरी करा लूं। अगर वो डॉक्टर है तो जाओगे, डॉक्टर नहीं है तो नहीं जाओगे आप। तो भगवान कृष्ण यहाँ पर ये नहीं बोल रहे कि जन्म से ब्राह्मण ब्राह्मण होता है ना। ब्राह्मण का पुत्र, अगर उस ब्राह्मण का कोई पुत्र है लेकिन उसके अंदर ब्राह्मणिकल क्वालिटीज नहीं है, ब्राह्मण के गुण ही है, तो उसको द्विज बंधु कहलाता है। द्विज बंधु, ब्रह्म बंधु और द्विज बंधु, क्योंकि उसके अंदर क्वालिटी नहीं है लेकिन ब्राह्मण से उसका जन्म हुआ है। ठीक है, तो कौन सी क्वालिटी है? पीसफुलनेस, सेल्फ कंट्रोल्ड, ऑस्टेरिटी, प्यूरिटी, टॉलरेंस, ऑनेस्टी, नॉलेज, wisdom and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the brahmana work. तो समझाने की बात, समझाने की जरूरत नहीं है, समझ गए होंगे अभी तक आप। इतनी पूरा 17 अध्याय सुने हैं तो डेफिनेटली समझ में आ गया होगा। ठीक है, अगले श्लोक में बता रहे हैं, क्षत्रिय के स्वभाव की बात कर रहे हैं। शौर्यम तेजो धृतिर दाक्ष्यम युद्धे च अपलायनम दानम ईश्वरम भावश्च सात्रम कर्म स्वभावजम। बोल रहे हीरोइज्म, पावर, डिटर्मिनेशन मीन्स रिसोर्सफुलनेस, करेज इन द बैटल, जनरसिटी, लीडरशिप आर द नेचुरल क्वालिटीज ऑफ वर्क फॉर द क्षत्रिय। समझ में आ गया होगा ये भी। ठीक है, तो किसी का स्वभाव होता है, इसीलिए अभी भी देखोगे मिलिट्री में जब भर्ती होती है, अगर उसके बेटा मिलिट्री में है, अगर उसके अंदर थोड़ा बहुत गुण है तो लेते हैं उनको, उनको ज्यादा प्रेफरेंस देते हैं, क्योंकि नेचुरल है कि अगर वो परिवार में उसका जन्म हुआ है तो ज्यादा इन्फ्लुएंस हो सकता है माता पिता का। गर्भ में होता है तब से माता पिता के गुणों का उसके ऊपर प्रभाव होता है, गर्भदान से लेके गर्भ से लेके जन्म होने तक, फिर उसके बाद उसके आसपास ही पला बड़ा होता है, तो उसके अंदर नेचुरली वो क्वालिटीज आती है। बट हो सकता है किसी में ना हो, नहीं लगे। अगले श्लोक में बता रहे हैं, कृषि गोरक्ष वाणिज्यम वेश्य कर्म स्वभावजम परिचर्यात्मकम कर्म शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम। तो बता रहे हैं फार्मिंग, cow protection and business are the natural work for the Vaishya. Okay. They are natural work. Farming, cow protection, business are natural work for Vaishyas. And for the Sudras, there are labor and service to others. Yes. Okay. So these are the categories. And nowadays also we are seeing this kind of category. The name is different. रहता ही है सब ये सब लोग। ओके, तो नाउ बोलते हैं अभी ये क्यों भगवान ने बताया, तो हम पिछले उससे पहले के श्लोक में देखा था 40वें श्लोक में, सब लोग चारों गुणों से प्रभावित है। तो चारों गुणों के प्रभाव, सर तीनों गुणों से प्रभावित है, तो तीनों गुणों के प्रभाव की वजह से चार वर्ण आए, ठीक है। और चार वर्ण के हिसाब से अलग अलग कर्म बांटे गए हैं, कार्य बांटे गए हैं, प्रिस्क्राइब्ड ड्यूटीज दी गई है। डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ प्रिस्क्राइब्ड ड्यूटीज हैव बीन गिवन। Why? To get rid of from the effect of material moods. उसके लिए प्रिस्क्राइब कार्य किए गए हैं। जैसे किसी को जेल में डालते हैं तो उसके लिए टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन रखी जाती है, अगर आप ऐसे ऐसे इस तरह से एक्ट करोगे तो आपको छोड़ दिया जाएगा, ठीक है। अगर उसका बिहेवियर चेंज हो जाता है तो उसको छोड़ देते हैं। उसी प्रकार अभी हमारे अंदर जो रिबिलियस नेचर है, भगवान की आज्ञा पालन नहीं करना, भगवान के अन्य सुना, अगर उसके अंदर सुधार आ जाएगा तो हम भी तीन गुणों से परे हो जाएंगे। तो बोलते हैं by following his quality of work every man can become perfect, means they can free from the bondage of three modes of material nature. They can become perfect. Perfect means, what is the meaning of perfect? That they can free from this mode of material nature. Because of effect of three modes of material nature, they are imperfect right now. They are not able to imperfect because of four imperfections are there. Four defects: imperfect knowledge, imperfect senses, to be illusion. Because of being illusion, there is a tendency to commit mistake. Because of we commit mistake, there is a cheating propensity. Because of this imperfection, when we act as per the mode, that varna is given based on our varna, what will happen? We can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. Krishna is telling. In the next verse he says, यथा प्रवृत्ति भूतानां येन सर्वम इदं ततं सर्वकर्मणः तम अभ्यर्च्य सिद्धि विन्दति मानवः। तो बोल रहे हैं, by worship of the Lord who is the source of all being, is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. Means to do the prescribed duty as per your varna, and worship through work means what? By worship of Lord who is the source of all being, who is all pervading, मतलब बोलते भगवान की पूजा करो। वो भगवान कौन है? सबके उद्गम है और सब जगह पे उनका प्रभाव है। उनकी पूजा करने के लिए बोला गया है। कैसे पूजा करना है? अपने कर्म से। Man can attain perfection through performing his own work. Okay. तो so as stated in 15th chapter, all living beings are fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Okay. Mamevamsa Jivloka Jivbhuta Sanatana. The Supreme Lord is beginning of all the living beings entity. This is confirmed in Vedanta Sutra Janmadiyasya. Supreme Lord is the beginning of every living entity. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, two energies is external energy and internal energy. It's all pervading. Therefore, one should worship the Supreme Lord with his energy. Generally, the Vaishnava devotee worship the Supreme Lord with his internal energy. His external energy is perverted reflection of the internal energy. Okay. The external energy is the background, but the Supreme Lord, by the expansion of his plenary portion as a Paramatma situated in everywhere, is the super soul of all demigods, all human beings, all animals, everyone, everywhere. One should therefore know that as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one has his duty to render service unto Supreme. It's our duty to serve Krishna. Everyone should be engaged in devotional service to Lord in full Krishna consciousness. This is recommended in the verse. So, okay, we may have particular likings, particular activity might be like, we might like. Then what happened that we should add Krishna in those activities, basically. As per our guna and karma, we should add Krishna in those activities. Okay. So everyone should think that he is engaged in particular type of occupation by Rishikesa, the master of the senses. And by the result of the work in which one is engaged, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, should be worshipped. So we should offer that result to Krishna. Okay. Particular activity we are doing, then a result of that activity should be given to Krishna. If one think always in this way, in full Krishna consciousness, and by the grace of the Lord, he becomes fully aware of everything. Fully aware of everything. So that's how we began the chapter, right? What is renunciation? Renounce order of life. What is renunciation? So there also said same thing, and Krishna is telling again same thing here. But he will take us in further advanced stage in subsequent verses. So that is the perfection of life. Means offering the result of one's action to Krishna is the perfection of life. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 12.7, Tesam aham samudharta. Supreme Lord himself take charge of delivering such a devotee. That is the highest perfection of life. In whatever occupation one may be engaged, if he serves Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection. Basically, whatever we are doing, we should offer the result to Krishna. That should be discussed in 12 chapter, right? Different level of devotion. So in the next verse he says, so that's what he says that, okay, then, Brahmana is Sattva Guna. With little, they have also patience, but patience is not dominating. Brahmanas are dominated by mode of goodness. Little bit patient. Different degree of patience, but mode of goodness is dominated in the Brahmana. In Kshatriya, they have both mode of goodness and mode of patience, because you have to do leadership, you have to management, definitely require mode of goodness. But they are dominated by mode of patience. Mode of goodness is there, but mode of patience is dominating. Now in Vaishya, they have a patience and ignorance both. But compared to ignorance, patience is dominating in Vaishya. In Shudra, mode of patience and ignorance is there, but ignorance is dominating. Okay. So now one may think that okay, Brahmana's quality is good, so should I act in that way? That's what Arjuna also said. Bhiksham api ho loke. ठीक है, मैं युद्ध छोड़ देता हूँ, मैं जंगल में जाता हूँ, भिक्षु का ब्राह्मण का रोल लेके भिक्षा मांग के अपना जीवन गुजारूंगा. तो भगवान क्या बोले, अरे आप भागोगे, मतलब उधर जाओगे तो उधर युद्ध करके बैठोगे, आपका स्वभाव ही है. And Krishna will again tell, verse number 59 and 60 somewhere, he will tell, if you don't fight here, you will end up fighting there because that is your swabhava. अगर कोई भिक्षा नहीं देगा, थोड़ा भिक्षा मांगना है तो आपको बहुत विनम्र होना पड़ता है. कोई गाली देगा तो आप युद्ध करके बैठोगे वहां पर, उससे अच्छा. और तब वहां युद्ध मारोगे किसी को तो अपमान होगा, उससे अच्छा इधर ही युद्ध कर लो. And that is authorized by Krishna. Okay, so someone think that okay, Brahmanas are in mode of goodness and that is highest, so let me give up my duty and do the duty of Brahmana. Someone may think. So that's why, before Arjuna asked the question, Krishna is clearing up that doubt. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, Sreyan Sadharma Vigunaha, even though one may perform it imperfectly. Paradharma dharma tva anushtitat. Swabhava niyatam karma kurvan apnoti kilbisam. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reaction. You have been told to do the duty of what should I say? You have been given some duty. Okay, you might be expert in somewhere else, but if you miss that duty, you will be punished. So okay, you cannot do that based on that requirement. Similar verse has been spoken by Krishna in chapter number 3, verse number 35. He says there, same thing, same line, huh? श्रेयन स्वधर्म विगुण परधर्म स्वनुतिष्ठा. पहला लाइन सेम है, ठीक है, लेकिन दूसरा लाइन चेंज है. स्वधर्मेंदि धनम श्रेय परोधर्म भयावह. So it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duty even though faulty than another's duty perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duty, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reaction. Okay, so that's why Krishna is advising Arjuna to, you are Kshatriya, you have Kshatriya quality, so better you fight. But actually, Arjuna is much more than his devotee. So since being a devotee, what happened? He should not have a liking and disliking. Arey Krishna ye nahi karunga, ve nahi karunga. Agar if he is a pure bhakta, whatever Krishna will do, tell him to do, he will do. उसको बोलेंगे नरक में जाके जाओ प्रचार करो, तो he will be happy and happy to go in hell and preach. Just like Lord Shiva is happy to preach even bhutas, ghost. Okay. So better not to perform your own duty and offer the result to Krishna. That's what Krishna is advising here. So in the next verse he says again, Sahajam karma konteya sadosam api na tyajet sarvaramba hi dosena dhumena agnir इवावृतः. तो पिछले श्लोक में क्या था, लास्ट लाइन, वित स्वभावम नियतम कर्म कुर्वान आपनोति किल्बिषम. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reaction. And what he says here, every endeavor is covered by some fault. कुछ ना कुछ fault तो होते ही है. Just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such a work is full of fault. Okay. So, in conditioned life, all work is contaminated by material modes of nature. Even if one is Brahmana, he has to perform sacrifice in which animal killing is necessary. Similarly, a Kshatriya, however pious he may be, he has to fight enemies. He cannot avoid it. So many people will be killed. In sacrifice, animal will be killed. So same way for Kshatriya, fighting in the battle and killing the enemies like a sacrifice. He cannot avoid it. Similarly, the merchant, however pious he may be, must sometimes hide his profit to stay in business, or he may sometimes have to do business in a black market. These things are necessary. One cannot avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is Shudra serving bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done. Despite this flaw, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duty, for they are born out of his own nature. So a very nice example is given here in, although fire is pure, still there is smoke. That smoke does not make the fire impure. Even though there is smoke in the fire, fire is still considered to be purest of all elements. If one prefer to give up the work of Kshatriya and take up occupation of Brahmana, it's not assured that in the occupation of Brahmana there are no unpleasant duty. One may then conclude that in the material world, no one can be completely free from the contamination of material nature. So this example of fire and smoke is very appropriate in this connection. When winter time one takes stone from the fire, sometimes smoke disturb the eyes and other part of the body. But still one must make use of the fire despite disturbing condition. Basically what Krishna is saying that make a best use of bad bargain. Okay, थोड़ा धुआं लगता है लेकिन बैठ के फिर भी हमें गर्मी का आनंद लगता है. हम लोग तो करते थे गांव में, ठीक है, फिर भी करते हैं वो. Similarly, one should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. Rather, one should determine to serve the Supreme Lord by his occupational duty in Krishna consciousness. That is the perfectional point. When a particular type of occupation performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, all the defects in the particular occupation are purified. It will automatically be purified. When the result of work are purified, and with devotional service, one become perfect in seeing the self within, and that is self-realization. Okay, so basically when we continue performing karma yoga, niskam karma yoga, offering the result of our activity to Krishna, then what will happen? When the result of work are purified, when connected with devotional service, one become perfect in seeing the self within, and that is self-realization. Okay, basically you will achieve the jnana. Now you will be on the path of jnana. So that is how Krishna is describing. This way you can be purified. So you have achieved some particular mode of material nature. Okay, and based on that swabhava, please perform your duty and offer result to Krishna. Then you will be free from the bondage of the three modes of material nature. That's what Krishna is telling here. Come karma yoga again. So then he says, asakta buddhi sarvatra chitatma vigutas pruva niskarmyam siddhim parmam sanyasena digachati. So one who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregard all material enjoyment can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Okay, so when we continue doing this duty, offering the result, how one is self-controlled, unattached, and who disregard all material enjoyment by practice of renunciation, the highest perfect state of freedom from reaction. So basically what we're doing in what we discussed previously till now. So it's practicing the renunciation. Actually, you have not achieved the renounce order of life, but you are practicing the renunciation by giving up the result of your activity. We are practicing the renunciation by giving up the result of our activity. So we have not given up the activity. Okay. So now what Krishna is going to talk, that okay, you have practiced the renunciation for sufficient amount of time. आपने कुछ अच्छे समय के लिए जो त्याग भावना प्रैक्टिस की है, और वो करने के बाद आपको जब ज्ञान प्राप्त हो रहा है, right? So Gyan, and based on that Gyan and practicing detachment, you can give up that work. That is what Krishna is going to tell now. Okay, so listen this carefully. One who is self-controlled and unattached, who disregards all the material enjoyment, can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Okay, उसका अगला श्लोक पढ़ते हैं. Okay, purport पढ़ लेते पहले. So real renunciation means that one should always think of him part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and therefore think that he has no right to enjoy the result of his work. हमने बहुत बार चर्चा की है. Basically, we have to give up that doership mentality and enjoying mentality. Since he is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the result of his work must be enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. This is actually Krishna consciousness. Person acting in Krishna consciousness is real sannyasi, one in the renounced order of life. By such a mentality, one is satisfied because he is actually acting for the Supreme. Basically, we are giving the result to Supreme. Thus, he is not attached to anything material. He becomes accustomed to not taking pleasure in anything beyond the transcendental happiness derived from the Supreme Lord, derived from the service of the Supreme Lord. So now we have given up that. Okay, now this is speculative mentality I'm telling you. Suppose you are giving up the result. When we are focusing on enjoying the result. We focus on, we forget the learning. But when we give up the result, generally people think why we are giving up the result. What is the purpose of giving up the result? Start thinking about that. Why am I doing that? Why have I been told about this thing? So when he's acting in that mentality of detachment, gradually will develop this knowledge. Who is he? Jnana, he will develop that jnana. He will develop the knowledge. He'll get the knowledge. Now, till now, by performing activity, we were renouncing the result. Means we are practicing the detachment. Okay. So what Krishna is saying, one who is self-control and unattached and who is disregard all material enjoyment can obtain by practice of renunciation. That's what we did till now. Practice of renunciation. We are practicing the renunciation. The highest perfect stage of freedom. Of reaction. So we can achieve this highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. And what is that? Krishna described. So we were here in somewhere. The person acting in Krishna consciousness is real sannyasi, one in renounced order of life. By such a mentality, one is satisfied because he is actually acting for Supreme. Thus, he is not attached to anything material. He becomes accustomed to not taking pleasure in anything beyond the transcendental happiness derived from the service of the Lord. A sannyasi is supposed to be free from the reaction of past activity, but a person who is in Krishna consciousness automatically attains perfection without accepting the so-called order of renunciation. We have not accepted the order of renunciation, but we have accepted the renunciation. We are practicing that renunciation. State of mind is called yoga ruda. So, okay, or perfection stage of yoga, as confirmed in the 3rd chapter. Yastva atmarathi avasyat. One who is satisfied in himself has no fear of any kind of reaction from any activity. Now, in the next verse, he says, Siddhim prapto yatha brahma तथा आपनोति निबोध में समासेनेव कौन्तेय निष्ठा ज्ञानस्य या परा. तो बोलते हैं, so when now we have practiced the renunciation, so there are two levels of sannyasi. One who are practicing the detachment, and second is they are already detached. They are not practicing. They are, when they have practiced the renunciation for sufficient amount of time, now they are habituated with that renunciation mentality. So for them, it's very easy to give up. There are some people I have seen, बोलते हैं मुझे ये चाहिए, उन्होंने इतना मेहनत किया, ठीक है ले लो, मुझे ये चाहिए, मुझे अटैचमेंट नहीं, ले लो. That kind of mentality, they have developed that detachment, and they will not suffer the pain and pleasure because of that. Okay, so that is the mentality. Means they have developed that stage. So that's what Krishna is, that is about what Krishna is saying about practicing. तो यहाँ पे बोल रहे, ओ son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. So basically what happened in the previous verse, it says one who is self-controlled and unattached. Basically you have already practiced now. Okay. And who disregard all material enjoyment can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. So now freedom from reaction means now he is qualified to give up the activity itself. He is qualified to give up the activity. So that's what he's telling. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved the perfection, means they have already learned to be detached, can attain the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Okay. So Lord described to Arjuna how one can achieve the highest perfectional stage simply by being engaged in his occupational duty, performing that duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So one attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the result of his work for satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is the process of self-realization. When you renounce, as I mentioned, you develop. When you are working and renouncing the result to develop knowledge, you are in the mood of getting the knowledge. But when you are enjoying the work, this is my speculation. Huh? So, a general, observation, not speculation, but general observation. But when we are in the mentality of enjoyment, we forget to get the knowledge. That is the general mentality. Not necessarily, but general mentality. But when we are in the mood of offering the result to someone else, we focus on more teachings. Okay. So we develop jnana. So when person achieve the jnana and practice the detachment, what will happen? He realize what is that jnana, what is the knowledge means. Knowledge means I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, and I'm the part and parcel of the supreme soul, super soul. So you have clear knowledge about matter, spirit, and super soul in that jnana stage. So you come to the stage, I'm not this body, but I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. Okay, jnana means knowledge about spirit and matter. So now you have clear understanding about I'm not this body, I'm spirit. That's what Krishna is telling, that the stage of highest knowledge, the Brahman stage, will come to the point of Brahman stage, the stage of highest knowledge. Okay. And that is described in the following verses. That is the process of self-realization. The actual perfection of knowledge is in attaining pure Krishna consciousness. So again, now you have realized you are not this body, you are spirit soul. So you have got Brahman realization. But in subsequent verses, Krishna will tell, after the Brahman realization, even you can go up to bhakti. So Brahman realization is one beginning of God realization. So hope, is it clear to everyone? First, please tell me that, because little bit here may be difficult, but if it is clear, please tell me. If not, then please tell me so I can describe again. But to explain again, I have to do one more extra day. So that is another part. So please write in the chat. If you have understood, then please write yes, understood. Or maybe it is clear. Please, a few more, please type. Okay. So basically, reaction-free work through Jnana Yagya, yoga, then Brahman platform, and then pure bhakti. Okay, so let's move ahead. So now Krishna tells in the next three verses what he will tell. He'll tell Buddhaya Visuddhaya Yukto Dhruta Dhruti Atmanam Niyamya Cha Sabda Adi Visayam Tyaktva Ragadvesu Vyuddhasya Cha Viviktase Vilatvasi Yatvakaya Manasah Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam Vairagyam Samupasrita Ahankara Balam Darpam Kam Krodha Parigraham Vimuchya Nirmamah Santo Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. तो बोल रहे हैं being purified by his intelligence, controlling the mind with determination, giving up the object of sense gratification, being freed from the attachment and hatred, one who lives in secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, is always in trance, who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, acceptance of material things, free from the false proprietorship, peaceful, such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. So basically, when you again, I'm repeating that part. There are two kinds of sannyasi. First level of sannyasi, they have mentality of sannyasi, renunciation, mentality of renunciation, spirit of renunciation, I should say. So there you are doing the activity but offering the result to Krishna. And while doing that, you are developing a knowledge. And if you have practiced the detachment for sufficient amount of time, what will happen now? It will become your sabhava, to be detached. By practice, you become perfect. There is a saying, right? Practice make a man perfect. Let's say in general, practice make a human perfect. So now when you have developed that tendencies, habit, then what will happen? You have already developed the knowledge. So now you have renounced the work. Now you are through jnana, you are practicing the detachment. So while practicing that, you will that way you realize that you are not this body, you are spirit soul. So you get self-realization. What is that self-realization means? The difference between matter and spirit. So we'll get that. So when is it possible? When we are self-controlled, then only we can realize. So that's why all these characteristics are mentioned. If you would remember 13th chapter, verse number 18 to 12, 8 to 12, they are the process of acquiring knowledge. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of object of sense gratifications, absence of false ego. What is the absence of false ego means? Not having doership and enjoying mentality. Perception of evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with material relationship basically. Okay. So even-mindedness amid pleasant, unpleasant events, constant, unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in solitary places, detachment from the general masses of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical research for absolute truth. All this I declare to be knowledge. Beside this, whatever there may be is ignorance. Basically, to acquire knowledge, we should have some qualities. We must have these qualities. Some means these qualities. And after acquiring knowledge, we will definitely exhibit these qualities, both the things. So now you see there are many matching here. Okay. Purified intelligence, controlling the mind with determination, giving up the object of sense gratification, be it freed from the attachment and hatred. Okay. One who lives in the secluded place, who eats little, control his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, acceptance of material things. Okay, free from false proprietorship and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. So if you have this kind of quality, then you have knowledge. If you have real knowledge, then you are established in the position of self-realization. Okay. So when one is purified by intelligence, he keeps himself in the mode of goodness. Okay, so intelligence must be, we must have purified intelligence. Okay. Thus one becomes controller of mind and is always in trance. Is not attached to object of sense gratification. Is free from attachment and hatred in his activity. Such a detached person naturally prefer to live in secluded place. He does not eat more than what he requires. He controls the activities of his body and mind. He has no false ego because he does not accept body as himself, nor has he a desire to make the body fat or strong by accepting many material things. Because he has no bodily concept of life, he is not falsely proud. He is satisfied with everything that is offered to him by the grace of the Lord. He is never angry in the absence of sense gratification. Nor does he endeavor to acquire sense object. Thus, when he is completely free from the false ego, he becomes non-attached to all material things, and that is the stage of self-realization of Brahman stage. That stage is called Brahma Bhuta stage. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. When one is free from the material concepts of life, become peaceful and cannot be agitated. So that is again we discuss in 2.70, right? Apuryamana machil pratishtam samudram apah pravesanti yadvat tadvat kamam yam pravesanti sarve something apnoti na kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desire that enters like a river into the ocean, is ever being filled but is always full. Just like समुद्र में इतनी सारी नदियों का पानी जाता है फिर भी समुद्र अपनी बाउंड्री क्रॉस नहीं करता है. And so same way person who doesn't get disturbed by the incessant flow of desire can alone achieve the peace, not the men who strive to satisfy such a desire. So इच्छाएं आती रहेगी लेकिन उसको satisfy करने की जरूरत नहीं है. तभी वो व्यक्ति संतुष्ट होगा. Sorry, तब उसको शांति मिलेगी. So in such a state only will feel the we have a real jnana and we achieve the self realization. So Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate, that is the word. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So now in the next word, after explaining Brahma Bhuta stage, how you will act. I think you have understood in different way. And don't satisfy it. Basically, don't satisfy means it doesn't worry about to satisfy that desire because you have higher activities. So when you are rather than satisfying your desire, you are engaged in satisfying Krishna. That fault will be removed by Krishna. That's what Krishna said in the previous verse. Sorry, in the verse number 49, 50, somewhere he said that. So in the next, in the 54th verse, he says, Brahma Bhuta. So when you are on the Brahma Bhuta stage, what will happen? Brahma Bhuta prasanna atma na sochati na kankshati sama sarvesu bhutesu mad bhakti labate param. So one who is thus transcendentally situated at once realize the supreme Brahman. So he is in Brahma Bhuta stage. So yes. So after realizing he is not this body or soul, and one who is thus transcendently situated at once realize supreme Brahman. So in the previous verse we have spoken about self-realization. So earlier also many times I have said self-realization doesn't mean that just knowing that you are not this body, you are spirit soul. So still the knowledge is incomplete. If you don't understand, if you don't have a knowledge of relationship with the super soul, then your knowledge is incomplete. So self-realization without whatever God realization is not complete, huh? But here self-realization is taken that that I said in general, in broad term. But here Krishna, the self-realization means knowing the difference between body and spirit. We are not this body, we are spirit soul. So what will happen? That we have Prasannatma Brahma Bhuta. Okay. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realize the supreme Brahman and become fully joyful. So now after that he will have God realization also. And he never laments or desire to have anything. So when now he has first he understood he is not material body, is spirit soul. Then he have got the connection with the supreme super soul. So now the super soul is Sachidananda, spirit soul is Sachidananda, but still you are at Brahman platform, so you are at the Sat platform only. Okay, eternal platform. So in that state, we have now, there is no temporary things. Now you have achieved that eternity. So definitely you are joyful. Okay. He never laments, no desire to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. So we have that mentality, seeing that every living entity are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Why he equally disposed toward every living entity? Because he sees every living entity in relationship with the Supreme. Okay. And since he knows that he have Brahman realization, then there is no highest realization he have got, even super soul realization, supreme Brahman realization. Then he doesn't have to lament. He doesn't lament or desire to have anything, because he have achieved the highest thing. Prasannatma no sochiti na kankshati. So in that state, he attains pure devotional service unto Krishna. Anyway, I'm not going to read the purport. It's very long, otherwise we will not be able to complete. But hope you can understand. We can discuss on this verse for 3, 4, 5 hours. But I can read first paragraph. To the impersonalist, achieving the Brahma Bhuta stage, becoming one with absolute is the last word. So basically, in Brahma Bhuta stage, you have understanding that I am not this body, I am spirit soul, and there is a super soul also. But having knowledge, we are not acting on the Brahma Bhuta stage. We have understanding. Yes, Krishna is the super. There is a super soul. I am not this body. I am spirit soul. We have understanding, but we are not acting on that. Okay, just like I have powerful position of President of India. Okay, so these posts are also called Upadhi in the Shastras. Anyway, I'm not going to discuss that now. But if I don't utilize my power, I don't act with the power, then as good as I'm not. Okay, I have position of that power, but I'm not able to utilize. I'm not utilizing that. That is another point. So now you have a knowledge that you are not this body, you are spirit soul, and you have even super soul realization, self-realization, but you are not acting at the level of soul. You are not doing the activity at the level of soul. So Krishna is telling, okay, you achieve that state, Brahma Bhuta stage, Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atma na sochiti na kankshati, Samas Sarvesu Bhutesu Mat Bhakti Labhyate Param. So in that state, attain pure devotional service unto me. So you should not limit up to Brahman realization, but you can go beyond that. Of what? That is devotional service. You can act. You can do the activity with with the Supreme Lord. You can serve Him. You get the reciprocal. When you do the service to the Supreme Lord, you will get the reciprocation with the Lord. Right now, you are inert state. You have the knowledge, and not this body. You are spirit, soul, and Krishna is sorry. There is a super soul. You have a relationship. You have knowledge about the relationship, but you are not acting on that relationship. So when you don't act, just like then you will not have reciprocation, right? Just like two couple, they know they are husband and wife, but they are not acting like husband and wife. So unless they act on the level of husband and wife, then only they will get reciprocation or the pleasure of that relationship, right? So that's what is explained here. The impersonalist achieving the Brahmabhuta stage, becoming one with the absolute, is the last word. Impersonalist लोग इधर ही अटक जाते हैं. सुप्रीम ब्रह्म मायावादी ब्रह्मवादी लोग बोलेंगे इधर, या मायावादी लोगों को बोलेंगे तो ना, उसके लिए सुप्रीम ब्रह्मण और ब्रह्मण एक ही है. But for the personalist or pure devotee, one has to go still further to become engaged in pure devotional service. So now you have knowledge that you are not this body, you are spirit soul, and there is super soul. Now you have to act in that relationship. So now, so that in that again the action is coming. So when you are acting in that relationship, that is called pure devotional service. Earlier, you are liking some particular activity. Earlier, what we discussed, Niskam Karma Yoga and this pure devotional service, this different. This is the difference between them. That you are attached to one particular swabhava, still you are under the mode of material nature. So since you are under the mode of material nature, you have been advised to do some activity as per your modes, as per your varna. While performing that duty, what will happen? You will develop the knowledge, then you will become self-realized and Brahman super soul realization, Brahman realization basically. Okay. So in that stage, you have Brahman realization, supreme Brahman realization also, super soul. So there it is very clear. There is a relation, not this body, I am spirit soul. There is super soul and there is some relationship and I can act, but they are not acting. But when you go further advance, that okay, you act on the level of spirit soul, and when you perform the service to the Supreme Lord, again you are doing the activity. But now you are in the liberated stage and doing the activity. Earlier you are conditioned, so you are doing the activity in some particular mode, and you are getting liberated. Now you have come to the level, you have given up that activity in that particular mode. Now you have no liking of particular activity or disliking. Now you are coming to the stage of Brahman. After that, you have a knowledge that you can still act further in the devotional service. Then you can accept for the pleasure of Lord. You can accept any activity. You will do any activity. That is a pure devotional service. So hope it is clear. If please write yes or no in the chat. Please type yes or no in the chat. Okay, so let's move ahead. So this means that one who is engaged in pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is already in the state of liberation called Brahma Bhuta. Oneness with Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute One cannot render service. Means now you are also Brahman stage and Super Soul is also Brahman stage. That way you are on the absolute level, Brahma Bhuta stage, oneness with Absolute, nature wise. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute One cannot render service unto him. A Prime Minister को सेवा करने के लिए, you should have certain qualification. You have to stand equally to Prime Minister, same जगह पे, right? So in absolute conception, there is no difference between served and servitor, yet the distinction is there in the higher spiritual sense. So anyway, I'm not going to read the purport, basically. So it is, I think, clear enough. Then he says, then Krishna says, you cannot understand Krishna directly. How you can understand is mentioned here. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yasyasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva visate tad antaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of God, only by devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yasyasmi tatvatah. Tatvatah. Again, tatvatah word. In truth, that tatvatah word has, where it has come? 4.9 Janma karma cha divyam evam yo veti tatvatah. So only by devotional service only, one can understand Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when one is in full consciousness of Krishna by such a devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So when we perform the service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in full consciousness of Krishna, then we can come back to Godhead. So basically, Krishna, again, he said, you cannot understand him fully without performing devotional service. He said that here. So that's what we discuss today. So in the next verse, he says, now, so now you have come to the stage of Brahman, where you have realization of the Supreme Brahman and self-realization, and you know the difference between matter and spirit. Now Krishna is telling by bhakti only, and in that state you can achieve the bhakti, and only by bhakti only you can, because why? Only by bhakti we can understand Krishna. Okay. And when we perform by bhakti means devotional service, and when we and when one is in full consciousness of me by such a devotion, so when one is engaged in such a devotional service in full consciousness of Krishna, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So now after describing little of bhakti, now what is that bhakti? Okay, Krishna is talking about acting in that level of realization, bhakti level. उसमें क्या होता है? बोलते सर्वकर्माणि अपि सदा कुर्वाणो मद व्यपाश्रयः मत प्रसादात् आपनोति शाश्वतं पदम अव्ययम्. So though engage in all kind of activity, my pure devotees under my protection reaches the eternal imperishable abode of my grace, abode by my grace. The word mad vyapasraya means under the protection of the Lord. So to be free from material contamination, a pure devotee act under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his representative. So basically, how to act, that should be done under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his representative, the spiritual master. You have to act under the guidance of spiritual master. There is no time limitation for pure devotees. Always 24 hours a day, 100% engage in the activities under the direction of the Supreme Lord. To a devotee who is thus engaged in Krishna consciousness, the Lord is very, very kind. In spite of all difficulties, he is eventually placed in the transcendental abode or Krishna Loka. He is guaranteed entrance there. There is no doubt about it. In that supreme abode, there is no change. Everything is eternal, imperishable, and full of knowledge. So how we act in bhakti? Though engage in all kind of activity, my pure devotees under my protection reaches the eternal, imperishable abode of my grace. So in the next verse he says, Chetasaka sarva karmani mayi sanyasya patpara buddhi yogam upasritya machita satatam bhava. But in all activity, just depend upon me. Work always under my protection. In such a devotional service, be fully conscious of me. Always depend upon Krishna. Work under his protection. in such a devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So that is how we act. So in the next verse, he says that Machitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarisyati atha chetvam ahankaran na sosyasi vinakshayasi vinakshayasi. तो बोलते हैं, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all obstacle of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such a consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, will be lost. So that's what Krishna said in 57th verse, that हमें भगवान को ध्यान रख के कार्य करना चाहिए, तब सारे ऑब्स्टेकल निकल जाएंगे. If, however, you do not work in such a consciousness, but act through false ego means I am the controller, I am the bhokta, I am the doer, and we act in that mode without not hearing Krishna, we will be lost. Okay, so in the next verse he says, Yad ahankara sritya no yotsaiti manyase mithyasa vyavayaste prakrutistvam niyokshati. तो बोल रहे हैं, if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. बोलते हैं, अगर मेरी निर्देश अनुसार आप युद्ध नहीं करोगे, देन आप गलत दिशा में चले जाओगे और आपके स्वभाव के बस क्या करोगे, कहीं ना कहीं आप किसी के साथ लड़ाई झगड़ा कर ही लोगे. So basically Krishna is telling, so that's why you act under my direction as per your swabhava. So in the next verse he says, स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धस्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुम नेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यसि अवसो अपि तत्. तो बोलते हैं, under illusion you are now inclined to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same. अगर आप अभी ना बोल रहे युद्ध करने के लिए, लेकिन आपका स्वभाव है, तो आप युद्ध ही कर बैठोगे. So if one refuses to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, then is compelled to act by the modes in which he is situated. Everyone is under the spell of particular combination of the modes of nature and is acting that way. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. अगर भगवान का कहा नहीं करोगे, that means you are not acting at the stage of pure devotional service. So last few lines, last line. So, last verse and this verse is talking about if you are not acting in the stage of bhakti as per the direction of the Krishna, so then what will happen, that is mentioned. Okay. So in the next verse, he says, why? Because, no, okay, now still if you don't want to fight that way, okay, you might not be able to understand my instruction. Then Krishna is telling, पहले तो ब्राह्मण की बात की, अभी भक्ति की बात कर दी, वापस परमात्मा की बात कर रहे इधर. तो क्या बोल रहे हैं ये? तो भगवान बोल रहे, ठीक है, मेरे कहने जैसा नहीं करोगे, इट इज अपने दिल की बात तो सुनो, जहाँ पे परमात्मा बैठे हैं वही भगवान बता रहे हैं. यहाँ पर बोलते हैं ना, अपनी दिल की बात सुनो, पहले सोचो, अंदर मेडिटेट करो. तो ठीक है, मेरी बात नहीं मान रहे, लेकिन परमात्मा की तो सुनो. तो यहाँ पर भगवान वही बता रहे हैं, ईश्वर सर्वभूतानां हृदय अर्जुन तिष्ठति ब्राह्मण्य सर्वभूतानि यंत्रारूढ़ानि मायया. सुप्रीम लॉर्ड इज सिचुएटेड इन एवरीवन्स हार्ट. हमने बहुत बार देख लिया, सर्वस्य चाहम हृदय सिन्नविष्ट मत्त स्मृति ज्ञानम अपहनम च, ये भी देख लिया, बहुत बार बोला है ये भगवान ने. Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as one, who is seated as on a machine made of material energy. So basically, since Paramatma is sitting in the heart, that we had already discussed, Jivatma is initiator, Paramatma is sanctioner, material modes are facilitator. So super soul is there. So you should ask him, or you should take the guidance from him to meditate, okay, on him, and then you will realize that what should be done. So Krishna is talking about here in Paramatma realization. So Arjuna was not the supreme knower, and his decision to fight or not fight was confined to his limited direction. Lord Krishna instructed that individual is not all in all. Supreme Personality Godhead, or he himself, Krishna, as the localized super soul, sits in the heart, directing the living being. After changing the bodies, the living entity forget his past deeds, but the super soul, as the knower of past, present, and future, remains the witness of all activities. Therefore, all the activities of the living entities are directed by the super soul. He has seen, so super soul will remind him that what he wanted to do, what all those things. The living entity gets what he deserved and is carried by the material body, which is created in the material energy under the direction of the super soul. As soon as living entity is placed in the particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. A person seated in the high-speed motor car goes faster than one seated in the slower car. Though the living entities, the driver may be the same. कभी-कभी लगता है मर्सिडीज का ड्राइवर है, लेकिन उसको ट्रैक्टर दे दोगे तो 40 की स्पीड से ही जा पाएगा, मैक्सिमम 60. ठीक है, अभी ड्राइवर है मर्सिडीज का, लेकिन मिला है ट्रैक्टर. तो हमारे अंदर इच्छा तो बहुत है, लेकिन शरीर मिला है लोअर क्वालिटी का, तो करोगे क्या बेसिकली. Similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of body to particular type of living entity, so that he may work according to his past desire. The living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender and act. Is the injection of next verse. So basically, Krishna is sitting, so even if he doesn't want to do that, so at least Krishna is there to give a guidance. So it should take the guidance of Krishna, sorry, the super soul. I'm talking about not Krishna, but super soul here. Of course, he is Krishna himself. Krishna's expansion only. It's a Xerox copy of Krishna, you can say. So Krishna is advising Arjuna here to take the. In the next verse, he will tell Arjuna to take this, surrender to super soul. That what he says, Tam eva saranam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param santim sthanam prapyasi sasvatam. Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. ठीक है, उनके शरण में जाओ. Okay, so we'll end by this purport. So a living entity should therefore surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, and that will relieve him from all kind of miseries of this material existence. Basically, you may not be able to take up devotional service, but at least surrender unto the Super Soul, who is your eternal companion. He knows everything. He will guide you what should be done, what should not be done. By such a surrender, not only will one be released from all miseries in the life, but at the end he will reach the Supreme God. The transcendental world is described in the Vedic literature, Tad Vishnu Param Padam. Since all of creation is the kingdom of God, everything material is actually spiritual. But Param Padam specifically refer to the eternal abode, which is called spiritual sky or Vaikuntha. Okay. So in the 15th verse, it is Sarvasya Chaham Hridasinna Vishnu. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart. So this is recommended that one should surrender unto the super soul sitting within. Sitting within means that one should surrender unto Supreme Person of God, Krishna. Krishna has already been accepted by Arjuna as the Supreme. He said in 10.12, Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Saswatam Divyam Adidevam Ajo. Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the Supreme Person of Godhead and Supreme Abode of all living entity. Not only because of his personal experience, but also because of the evidence of great authorities like Narada, Asita, and Deval and Vyasa. So then he has to take the shelter. So if you don't mind, can I continue for 5 minutes more so that I can finish this particular section? Please write yes or no in the chat. Shall I continue 5 more minutes? Yes. Okay, then we'll continue. Okay, चलो yes आ गया तो कर ही लेते हैं. Okay, so first me Krishna has told first, surrender to the Brahman. So you have Brahman realization, that is called Guhya Gyan. After that he's talking about bhakti. After Brahman realization you can achieve bhakti. Means you don't have to limit up to the Brahman realization, which is the highest achievement of impersonalist. You should not limit yourself. You can even go further. That is bhakti. लेकिन वापस यहाँ पे भगवान बोल रहे हैं, okay, if you don't want to directly follow, at least you hear Paramatma. Okay. So he is lowering down again Paramatma. So that's what Krishna will tell in the next verse. That itite jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram maya guhyat guhyataram maya. Okay. Vimrushyetat aseshena yathechesi tatha kuru. So thus I have explained to you the knowledge still more confidential. Guhyat guhyataram. So Brahman realization knowledge is Guhya knowledge, and Paramatma realization is the Guhyatara knowledge. So till the verse number 54, 49 to 54 is Guhya Gyan, Brahman realization. And he's spoken about last 2 verses, Guhyatara. अभी भगवान उनको बोल रहे हैं, ठीक है मैंने आपको बता दिया, I explained to you knowledge still more confidential, deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सोच विचार करो और फिर डिसीजन लो. भगवान बोल रहे हैं, भगवान ने गीता बोल के उनको उन पर सुपर इम्पोज नहीं किया आप ये करो, अर्जुन को चॉइस दे दी. तो मैं भी ना कभी कभी जीवन में हम सलाह सूचन तो दे देते हैं, लेकिन हम उसको डिसीजन भी दे देते हैं. डिसीजन कब दिया जाता है? जब रिलेशनशिप बहुत क्लोज होता है, वो आएगा आगे कभी. सो गीता गिव यू सजेशन, प्रॉन्स एंड कॉन्स, बट वी हैव टू टेक डिसीजन. एडवाइस इज लाइक कृष्णा इज गिविंग एडवाइस. ज्यादातर हमारे रिलेशन में गड़बड़ कहाँ आ जाते हैं, हम डिसीजन दे देते हैं बहुत जगह पे. अगर रिलेशन क्लोज है तो कर सकते हैं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. सो दैट विल कृष्णा विल डू अगेन. बोला सारे सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं तं सर्व पापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचिः. He will tell. So he is saying, I have told you Guhya Gyan and Guhyatara Gyan. So till Brahman realization is Guhya Gyan, Paramatma realization is Guhyatara Gyan. So now yathechesi tatha kuru. Whatever you want, thoda deliberate on this and do what you wish to do. So Lord has already explained Arjuna the knowledge of Brahma Bhuta. One who is in the Brahma Bhuta condition is joyful. He never laments, nor does he desire anything that is due to confidential knowledge. Krishna also disclosed knowledge of the super soul. This is also Brahman knowledge, knowledge of Brahman, but it is superior. Here the word yathechasi tatha kuru, as you like, you may, indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has explained in all respect how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender unto super soul seated within his heart. So Gita can be completed here. Okay. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to order of the super soul. बोलते हैं ना अंदर की आवाज सुनो, ऐसा बोलते हैं लोग. That will help one become situated constant in Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Arjuna is being directly ordered by the personality of Godhead to fight. Surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead is the best interest of the living entity. It is not for the interest of the Supreme. Okay. It is not that Krishna wanted some work from Arjuna, that's why he told him to surrender. No, it is based for him. That's why Krishna advised him. कभी कभी हमारे बड़े बोलते हैं हमें तो हमें लगता है कुछ काम निकलवाने के लिए बोल रहे हैं. नो, ऐसा नहीं. हर केस में ऐसा नहीं होता. यहाँ पे भगवान तो सब कुछ कर सकते हैं. उन्होंने बोला मेरे एक फ्रेगमेंटल पार्ट से मैं पूरे सृष्टि को चला रहा हूँ, तो क्या उनको ये जरूरत थी क्या? नहीं, उनके लिए अच्छा है. तो कभी इस एंगल भी सोचना चाहिए हमें. It is not for the interest of Supreme. Before surrendering, one is free to deliberate on the subject as far as the intelligence goes. That is the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such instruction come also through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna. Now in the next verse, Krishna says, उनको deliberate करने के लिए बोला, तो शायद उन्होंने सोचा होगा, अभी फिर भी कंफ्यूज लग रहा, तो भगवान बोले, सर्वगुह्यतमं भूय शृणु मे परम वचः इष्टो असि मे दृढ़म् इति ततो वक्ष्यामि मे हितम्. तो बोलते सर्वगुह्यतमं, तो पहले बोला गुह्य, बाद में बोला गुह्यतर, अभी बोल रहे गुह्यतमं, सर्वगुह्यतमं. तो मतलब because you are my dear devotee, sorry, सर्वगुह्यतमं भूय शृणु मे परम वचः इष्टो असि मे दृढ़म् इति ततो वक्ष्यामि ते हितम्. तो बोल रहे because you are my dear devotee friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, most confidential knowledge to all. Hear this from me, for it is your benefit. आप मेरे friend हो, you are my dear friend, I am speaking to. That's what Krishna told. Bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyami taduttamam. That is, he told in 4.3 in 9th chapter. First verse he says you are non-envious, that's why I am telling you. And again he is telling here that you are my friend, that's why I am telling you. For your benefit, param vacha te hitam, vaksyami te hitam, vaksyami te hitam. The Lord has given Arjuna the knowledge that is confidential knowledge and still more confidential knowledge of the super soul within everyone's heart. Now he is giving the most confidential part of knowledge. Just surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the end of 9th chapter, he has said, Man manaha, just always think of me. The same instruction is repeated here to stress the essence of teaching of Bhagavad Gita. This essence is not understood by common men, but by one who is actually very dear to Krishna, a pure devotee of Krishna. This is the most important instruction in all Vedic literature. What Krishna is saying in this connection is most essential part of knowledge. Sarva guhyatamam, and it should be carried out not only by Arjuna but all living entities. Sarva guhyatamam, most confidential of all. So what is that? So we'll just read and finish. Okay. Manmana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaro mam evasyasi satyam te pratijani priyo asi me. To bolte always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me, thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Again he is telling you are my very dear friend, priyo asi. Always think of me, हमेशा भगवान का चिंतन करते रहो. उनके भक्त बनो। ऐसा नहीं बोला ज्ञानी बनो, योगी बनो, भक्त बनो। ओके, मध्याजी बोलो उनकी पूजा करो, नमस्कारो, उनको नमस्कार करो। और ऐसा करने से माम एवेशेषि सत्यम ते, भगवान के पास आएंगे। और भगवान ये प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर। तो ये देखेंगे 9वें अध्याय में भी 34वें श्लोक में वही बताया गया था जो भगवत गीता का एसेंस है। सारे गीता सारे वेदों का सार है, ठीक है। और गीता के जो बीच के जो 7 से लेके 12 तक जो चैप्टर है वो गीता का सार है। 7 से लेके 12 के चैप्टर में 9वें और 10वें अध्याय है वो एसेंस है। और 9वें और 10वें अध्याय में जो 34वां श्लोक है 9वें अध्याय का, वो सबसे दैट इज द एसेंस ऑफ भगवत गीता। व्हाट इज दैट? सिमिलर वर्स अगेन, फर्स्ट लाइन, मन मना भव मत भक्तो मध्याजी माम नमस्कार। दोनों में सेम है, 9.34 एंड 18.65। मन मन भव मत भक्तो मध्याजी माम नमस्कार। So Krishna is repeating again. So that is the essence. Okay. And तो बोलते हैं, so is it possible for everyone? So if someone is papi vapi, तो क्या होगा? So even to he telling in the next verse that sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam vrajam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshayami ma sucha. Abandon all variety of religion, just surrender unto me, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear, don't worry, just no, मैंने अभी तक जो भी बोला उसको ज्यादा सोचो मत। अभी है ना, क्या बोले? जस्ट सरेंडर इनटू मी, मेरे शरणागत हो जाओ, मैं बोल रहा हूँ वो करो। शरणागत होना मतलब जो भगवान बोल रहे हैं वो करते जाओ। एंड व्हाट कृष्णा इज टेलिंग, आई विल डिलीवर यू फ्रॉम ऑल सिंफुल रिएक्शन। डरो मत, पाप की चिंता मत करो, क्या होगा पाप, उन्हें भूल जाओ सब, ये धर्म वो धर्म सारा भूलो, जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ वो करो। यथे अहम तम माम एकम शरणम व्रज अहम तम सर्व पापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः। तो यहाँ तक भगवान ने भगवत गीता इंस्ट्रक्शन देना बंद, ये श्लोक तक दिया। अगले श्लोक में भगवान गीता को ग्लोरीफाई करते हैं। गीता पढ़ने वालों को क्या होगा, गीता सिखाने वाले को क्या फल मिलता है, गीता सुनने वाले को क्या फल मिलते हैं, फिर संजय समराइज करता है। तो वो हम कल देखेंगे। तो मैंने 66वां श्लोक पढ़ लिया है, तो उसके बारे में कल डिस्कशन करेंगे। तो यहाँ पर हम समाप्त करते हैं। धन्यवाद। हरे कृष्णा। किसी का कोई प्रश्न है, कमेंट है, फिर